please show how to write a macro for adding two numbers. Okay, I'll just put here. So when I say adding two numbers, I have to specify which cell value I like to. I stop my run. I stop. Oh, stop. Yeah. Now I say sub add two numbers. Right? So n sub. So how do I add? I need to specify now the cell. Which cell I like to add. Right? So if I have to pass the cell number, I like to add to in C column, I want to put the value of, so in C column, I like to put the value of, say, application dot active cell, right, dot, in fact, if you open up this, this is how he has given here, right? So range A1 dot select formula R1C1. So I am using the same thing here. So this cell I want to add up with the next cell. So R1C1, row 1 C1, row 1. So I like to add this cell range B1, range B2 dot select. I like to add this. I go here. Instead of all this, I copy that value here so that it is easy for us to manage. Easiest way to learn the macro is record and run. Right now range A1 dot select. This is, I call it as C1. Then range C1 active cell dot formula R1C1 equals, right, I say here range A1 plus dot select dot value plus range A2 not B1. So B1 dot value. I am just retrieving these two values, passing that value onto active cell. Right? So I am just adding these two numbers now. So add two numbers. I am just saying you put the value in C1. C1 is the value where I am passing this C1. So active cell dot formula R1C1. R1C1 is the place where I want to type the value, equals range, right, A1 dot value plus range B1 dot value. I run this. I close this. Come back here. A1 say 15, B1 16. Run the macro, add two numbers, I run it, 31 it has come. So the value is 31 because it is adding these two numbers and putting it over here. Right? I am now done for A1 and B1 alone. I have a series of numbers here. Right? Then how do I do? The same way you have to manage one by one, you have to manage. Right? You have to put it in the loop, manage it, pass it, manage it, pass it. So this is multiplication I can do, whatever. So I just go to Visual Basic. I just put here multiplication. Dot value is important because that is the one which retrieves the value. Right? So dot value into range B1. I can also validate whether that particular entered data is really a numeric, or is it a what is a string. All those things also I can do. That's all part of the VB command. So I saved it. So I just save it. Now I run it here. Now 15 into add, instead of add two numbers, it is now multiplication. So 15 into 16, 240. Some people is asking, can we write a macro for VLOOKUP? VLOOKUP itself is a macro. Then why I need to write a VLOOKUP as a macro? So VLOOKUP itself is a macro, you need to just apply it. Right? So if you want to do it, of course you can do it. There is no hard and fast rule that this cannot be applied or this can be applied. Anything. VLOOKUP, only thing is it is not a VB command. VLOOKUP is a Excel command. So you need to apply based on that. Right? So I can do whatever. Macro is mainly, what is the ultimate aim of a macro? I'm just making this as an invoice field. Say like this. Assume that it is an invoice XLS. Right? I have a party name here. Party address here. Right? So I have some 3 lines where you type in a party address. Here I have an item. I have a description, or item itself is a description. Here I have a quantity. I have a rate. I have a value. I like to here total up the, so I have around 5 lines of the data. So this value I want to, whenever this quantity into rate, I need to put a value here, and then I need to sum up the value here. Right? So rate, I can have it as a VLOOKUP kind of a thing, where the rate will come from the previous screen. So I keep, what I'll do here is, here item 1, item rate. So the rate comes from here. So I1, I2, I3. These are all the items I need to use. I4, I5, 5 items I have. So 15, 12, 13, 12, 14, 11, 16. Oh, say, okay, I6. I keep it as I6. So these values, we want to use it over here. So whenever quantity is what I type in, whenever the quantity is typed, I want to bring in the rate. I need to get the rate and I need to put the rate over here. And the value has to be quantity into rate. Finally, I have a total value here. Only 5 items, I can put it in this screen. So total value, right? I want to put it over here. This is my sum total. So if I take this, D17 is the column which takes the total. So D9 to 15 or 9 to 16, it will take item value. 9 to 16 will take item value. So this is what I like to do. So how do I do it? So I want to do it whenever the quantity is there, I need to bring in the rate. Right? So sheet 1, sheet 2. First, what I will do for your easiest understanding, I record a macro. I record a macro here. So I put it. So how do I put it now? So this is my range. Actually, this is where I want to fetch the value of rate. So this is second column. This is where I need to fetch the value of the rate for each of the item that I type in here. So item is typed here. For that item, I need to bring the rate from that table. This is VLOOKUP now. So VLOOKUP, what I'll do is I just put a record macro so that we know how to do the macro. So it is, I'll say invoice. After that, I'll modify this, right? I'll modify it as I go. So invoice, I say OK. It is now getting recorded. So VLOOKUP, lookup value is this. followed by table array. Table array is in sheet 2. So this is my table array, right? So followed by column index. Column index is 2, right? And I like to put it as false because it's an exact match. So now you can see it is false. So I1, you can see 15 has come, right? So I want to stop recording. I want to go to the macro. I like to go to the macro. Edit the macro. This is my invoice. I go to edit. We had an issue there. That's fine. Cannot edit. That's okay. Visual Basic. I go to whatever I typed. Yeah. You can see now how he has applied the VLOOKUP now. So VLOOKUP, he has come based on, this is the invoice macro that we have created. And in this range C9.select, active cell.formula, R1C1, this is the rate formula where we are typing. So it is for range C9. So for range C9, I am just applying the VLOOKUP now. So this is how I applied the VLOOKUP. You can see it now here. Sheet 2, row, column, row, column. And then C9 select, active cell equal to VLOOKUP, so and so, because I have edited that formula. Here the formula was having an error. Because of that I have edited. So I can put a false here as well. And then remove this. Right? I typed in the value I1. So that is the one. Now I want to make this, convert this as a formula. Convert this as a formula. How to do this? So VLOOKUP RC minus 2, that is row column minus 2. Okay, that's fine. So range C9 select, that is fine. So C9 will change to C9, C10, C11 up to C15 it will go on. So I need to now apply for each of the cell. There are several ways I can do it. So I don't need this. Right? I comment all these areas. Comment is single quote. Single quote is a comment. Right? What I do here is let's enhance the formula range C10 dot select, then active cell dot formula R1C1 equals VLOOKUP RC2 here. Right? So what is this RC2 means? So I can always say VLOOKUP, right, formula. So I apply the same formula here. What is this formula? So C10 followed by, right, followed by sheet 2, then range, right? So you can come back here and see the formula the way it has been typed here. So I just copy this here, easiest way. Just change the value after that. Right? So I can say sheet 2 A2 to B and 2 false. So only thing is instead of C9, instead of A9 I need to make it as A10. Right? Only that change I need to do. So for each of this I need to apply this here. So now C11. So one time activity but very effective. right? So I need to go up to C15. Let us not go into up to C15. Let us stop somewhere to see whether it works or not working. So C11, active cell 10, 11. So active cell C12. We look up A12. That's it. Let us stop it here. And I want to put now sum. Right? Range. Just a second. I come back here. This is C7, D17, right? Oh, okay. I need to put now D equal to B into C. So D9 dot select, right? Then put active cell dot formula R1 C1, right? Equals range B9 dot value as we have done before, right? Into range C9 dot value, right? And then like this I need to put now for all the values, right? So I need to now D9 I have selected, these two I have to copy paste, D10, D11, D12. So D10, B10 here, C10 here. Initially when you are doing it, until you get the comfort level, make sure you do it line by line. Once you are comfortable with datas, you can do it now for any complex as well. So now 12, B12 dot value C12, right? Next is range D17, right? Dot select active cell dot formula, right? Equals, right? Sum D9 followed by D15 or D17. So D15 I'll put it for time being, right? It will sum up all the value and then put the value over there. So I have now done this job. Let me just see whether how it effectively worked. So I close this. Now I made this I1. This I have to type it because this I cannot do anything here. So 100, I2 or I4, I get here say what to say 120. I'll put it as quantity 120. I think I've given up to I6. Okay, so I6 195 90, I4 I3 10, I2 15. Now I want to I don't know, up to 12 I have done, so I just remove this because only up to I12, D9, D10, D11, D12, only up to this we have managed our so-called macro. So I go to macro, I go to invoice, select the invoice, run it. So there is a runtime error, type mismatch. So there is a problem, there is a mismatch over here. So I need to go back. So we look up, you can see now A10, if I remove this quotes, it is going to work. Just see here. If I remove this quotes, it is going to work. If it is, so the quote is the problem. So when I did in my macro, the quote is the problem. So I'll put here now within quotes. That is why he has used RC. RC minus 2, RC minus 2 minus 1, etc. Right? So I am trying to do it without putting a RC. Let us see now. I'll just save it. It is an error. VLOOKUP equal to this is okay. Okay. This is the reason I need to use now RC minus I'll do one more thing. I'll just apply. Okay, so I comment all this. I'll apply a formula again over here. Comment. So comment all the lines I comment for time being. After that I can remove the comment. What we are trying to do is trying to understand what is this minus 2. So what is this minus 7? So he has put here minus 7, right? It is C2, column 2, this is row 7, right? So what is this RC minus 2? So RC minus 2 is first row by default and then second column. That is what? Is it a second column? So let us go through that. Let us try to understand that. How easy to understand is record again. Record again, you will understand easily. So what I'll do now is, I am going to record now the same VLOOKUP for 2 of this formula. So I am now going to record for this and then this. I am separate recording. So record macro, it is going as a macro 3. Let it be a macro 3. I try to put here, this we know now. VLOOKUP followed by lookup value A9, then come to sheet 2, choose the column, right, followed by second column, followed by false, right. So it is 15. I am trying to do the same VLOOKUP here, followed by I4, A10, table array, sheet 2, range, followed by 2, followed by false, right. So now I'll stop my recording so that we know the pattern in which it is recorded. So it is module 3 macro. You can see here what is the difference. So it is RC minus 2 is always RC minus 2. Here the sheet range, right, it is ranges because we have selected C10 here. So RC minus 2 it is holding to that. Now sheet 2 range, right, minus 7 minus 8 column 2 again minus 3 minus 1. So I just have to include this portion over here. That's it. My job will be easier now. So now I change here my formula here. Now it is very easy for me to apply for all other areas formula. So this comment I can remove it now. Remove this comment. Remove this comment. VLOOKUP, I just copy it, right, paste it over here. So RC minus 2 will remain same. This will become minus 9. C2, R3 becomes R4, row 4, right? C1 minus, that is this is the range. Then again I copy it over here. right? Sheet 2 or 9 or 10, right? So R10, oh, it is supposed to be, it should not be R10, C1, R2, C2, range R7, C2. Just I go back because it is a dollar symbol. I have to apply a dollar symbol. So R2 is minus 2 is second row. So always it is row 7, yes, row 7. So this has to be always 7. The range should not change, right? So here also the range should not change. R2 C1, R2 row 2, right? Row 2 C1, yes, row 2 C1 because it's a static for us. So I choose here range, I choose here range, I remove here. Now that's all. So all other things I just have to remove. Right, so here D9 I have to use the same concept, or C2, right, the selected cell, but it has to go with the range. So R sum R minus 9. I'm just following the same syntax. C minus 50, column is which column? Column is 1, 2, 3, 4. Fourth column. So fourth column minus 4, right? Colon or 15 C 4 minus 4. Right? If this doesn't work, we can always do a record on that. So automatically it will know exactly what it is. I am just applied a range. Let us see now how it works. So I saved it. Macro 3, anyway I am not going to run the macro 3. So now I run the macro. Let us see what happens to that macro. Invoice is the macro. Run it. You can got the value, but you have not got the value here. Because it is 17, that is fine. So it is XFD2, it is coming at us. So this is wrong, XFD8. So this formula is wrong. So how do I know now what is the exact value? Record macro. Record macro 4, that's fine. I'm just trying to record sum, selecting the range, so that we know now what is exactly the command we need to pass. I stop recording, go to Visual Basic, go to module 3, you can see now macro 4, and what I did, R minus 8C, R minus 1C, this is what I need to do. So I need to put now row minus 8 to row minus 1. So this is what I need to apply it over here. So this is what is very, very important. Control C, put it over here. Right, let us see now, run this invoice. I now copy this. So I put here now different values. I run the macro. Now I put here I3, I4, I5, I8. No, only I have up to I6. So I5, I2, I1, that's all. Quantity 15, 10, 12, 13. These are all manually typed. Run the macro. Click on run the macro. Invoice macro, run it. You get the invoice value. right? You got the rate, you got the value, you got the total value. So now you can see without any effort, without doing any effort, once you put a value there, automatically is able to get the value. So what is the negative value? Negative value is not in our hands. That's how we understand the formula. R minus 80 means it is a 8th row. R minus 1 means it's the first row. Right? Of course, it varies from the selection. So it varies from the selection. That is the reason we are recording the macro, getting the formula understood, because it is very difficult to remember all the commands. That is why he has given the feature called record macro, so that you can get the formula, what is the formula to be applied. You might have noticed I am not familiar with a lot of commands, but I am still able to manage a macro here. The reason is we are able to do a record and then run. Record, run, record, run. Right? So for whenever there is a selection comes into picture, you have to be very careful. That's it. So once if you able to do that, you can see now macro is applicable. You can see now A10, A11, the formulas are right. He is finding it from, so the range is wrong. You can see the range is changing. Right? A2, A3, you can see now A3, A4. So the range is wrong in fact. Range should not be like this, right? For this A2, right, A4, A3. So the range is wrong. So we have to little bit work on that. So we need to little bit understand on the minus concept. If you are able to record, then what is the use of VBScript? Up to certain extent, record is fine. There are certain manipulation. VBScript is all this running because of VBScript. There are certain things that you want to do. That means you need to know more of, because the entire this if you go to the program, in fact, this entire program is a VB program. These are all VB programs actually. Right? Since it is a VB program, you have to be very careful. So now I will go back to this proper. I think now I understand what I need to do for proper. Application.active cell. Right? So activate cell, right, fine. So here I now put here activate cell, select equals, right, activate cell dot range x, right, or I'll say x dot value, I can say in that way as well, equals proper equals proper, right, selection range dot application dot active cell dot, here I'll say x dot value equal to, I'm not sure it will work, let me try. So proper application active cell dot let me just see this, how what happens. Expected end of statement. End of statement is this, okay. Expected end of statement, compilation error, so it is not acceptable, okay. Anyway, I will come back to this later, that's fine. So somewhere I am missing on this as well. Perfect.